I'm Lori Cannon, and this is my right arm, Blake Burton. You will deal with Blake on the details. You will deal with me on the decisions. I know why, and that's what we're going to talk about first, is the why. I've been with GoSendMe Global about 3 months after it was born. The only thing I haven't done with this organization is I did not do the application for the nonprofit status. Someone else did that. This administration is here for you. I am here for you. You are not here for me. You are not here so I can feel good and check off my boxes. I like checking off boxes, believe me, but that's not why I'm here in this organization. I am here 100% to serve you while you serve him. I am not the gifted one in raising funds, but I am the gifted one in making sure that we stay compliant and that we do what we need to do with the Internal Revenue Service. You've heard all week long about the kingdom side. And when Rob and I get together, we have both hats on. We have the kingdom hat on, and we have the non-kingdom hat, the world hat on. And we have to figure out a way to make those two worlds meet so that they meet and they're amicable and that they're not colliding and going to cause us problems down the road. So if we come back to you and I have to say no, it's to make sure that these two worlds don't collide. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking to you about the why. We are a nonprofit. GoSendMe Global is a 501c3. So there are some myths out there about nonprofits, and I want to get those out of your brain right now. So true or false? True or false? And I'll ask you to raise your hand. Nonprofits cannot make money. True? False? Very good. Nonprofits can make money. Nonprofits do not have to file a tax return. True? Well, you guys are smart. False? Very good. Nonprofits don't have employees, only contractors and volunteers. True? Obviously false, right? Nonprofits are not subject to taxation by the federal government. True? False? Very good. A nonprofit cannot be sued. True? That's the biggest one. We can be sued, and we don't want to be sued. So what's it take to be a nonprofit? Very basically, it takes a mission statement, it takes bylaws, it takes officers and a board of directors, it takes application with the IRS that has been approved, and it takes money, okay? There's a lot of other things that it takes, but those are the basic necessities of what it takes to be a nonprofit. Why is a mission statement so important? Why did I list that one number one? More importantly, why does the IRS care about a mission statement? The IRS approved that mission statement in your application. So somebody sitting at a desk saw a mission statement for We All Scream. And the mission statement was to provide ice cream to underprivileged children at a reduced rate. They know children that live in low-income areas, they may get primary food, but they don't get fun things like ice cream. So that particular agent said, cool, I'm going to approve this mission statement. So We All Scream files their 990, and one of the things that they spent money on was beef. They fed children. They did not provide the children with ice cream. They did not accomplish their mission. Therefore, that particular nonprofit could come under scrutiny. Okay? That's a really bizarre example, but I kind of want to get it in your mind. We have to make sure we follow our mission statement. Second thing, anything outside the mission statement can be taxed. So if they received money for that beef, $5,000 to buy beef to feed the children, that $5,000 can be taxed. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. If you get too far outside that mission statement, you may lose your tax exempt status. So if they end up feeding the children beef 99% of the time and only giving them ice cream 1% of the time, they could lose that status. Well, why do we care about having nonprofit status? The number one reason that GoSendMe Global cares about that nonprofit status is because your donors do. If your donors, and it doesn't matter, they have got statistics all over the United States. Most people that give cannot deduct it on their federal tax return. They cannot exceed the new floor. They do not care about the tax deduction. So why do they care if you're a 501c3? Because they know you're jumping through the hoops to be legal for the federal government. They know you're not a fly-by-night. They can go on the internet and they can find your tax return as a nonprofit, and they can see what you're doing. They can see who your board members are. They can see where you are. We are 100% transparent with your donors. They can see anything they want. That is what your 990 does. And it keeps management focused. It keeps us from selling beef when we're supposed to be selling ice cream. So we go back to our mission statement all the time. What can you see a giver trying to give you money for, or you trying to spend that money on, that would not fit in that mission statement? Cancer research.
Cancer research.
Cancer.
Okay.
That's great.
Cancer support.
Anything having to do with medical, that's not necessarily what we would do. Research, anything in the medical research field, contributions to a hospital. Here, GoSendMe, I'm giving you this $100,000 and I want you to send it to the hospital in this particular foreign country that needs it. Now, if we have one of you become sick and you do not have the funds, we would be well within our mission to assist you with those medical needs. So don't take that to where you can't ask us for help for that, because you can. Now, I may have to tell you it has to be taxable. I may have to tell you it has to go on your personal tax returns, but we can definitely help you. So when you're asking me, is this deductible, is this reimbursable, that's going to be your bigger question. Go back to the mission statement and see how you can make it fit in there. Some of the other things that a nonprofit, or that we could spend money on that could get us in trouble: alcohol, drugs, political contributions, personal legal fees. We are not allowed to reimburse. That kind of goes along the medical, though. If you are legally challenged while you're representing GoSendMe Global, we might be able to do that. We would just have to look at the situation. Another thing that does not fit inside the mission statement of GSM. We have had in the past some people that have come on and they said they were called and they raised some money and they spent some money and then they left. They were not really called. So we have put in, for those people too, just like we would accommodate you, we accommodated not allowing that to happen again, because that's detrimental to us and the individual. So everything has a reason, is I guess what I'm saying. Now it says we will train you, but will we train you to go out into another field? Will we pay for your education for any of you to be an accountant?
No.
No, that would not be an allowable expense. It has to relate to the mission. We're only 1099 for true 1099 employees like me. Rob doesn't tell me when to do his accounting, I just do it. And he doesn't have to oversee me. There's not a certain number of hours a week. We just do what it takes to get the job done. And that's true 1099 by DOL regulations. But we do control where you guys go. We control how much money you get. We control a lot of things that you will be doing. So you are our employee. So everyone's an accountable. Expenses are separated for salaries versus ministry expenses, and we know where all those ministry expenses are sent. I talked about that 990 and how anybody can look at it. They can see exactly where we're spending the money they're giving us. Whereas if you were 1099, all they'd see is one line item, contract labor, and that doesn't tell them anything.
I'm sorry, but I don't know what it costs to live in Africa. I don't have a clue. I've never been. So I am not one to tell you what your living budget needs to be. Now, I am one to say, listen, this has absolutely no entertainment in it at all, and this beautiful woman is gonna at least want flowers once a year. I will remind you of what is missing. Or I will say, you may wanna move electricity is 50% of your budget. That's a little much. That kind of thing I can help you with. Your living budget needs to go up, and if you have the room in your contributions, then we can give you an incremental raise on a monthly basis in your W-2 wages. We can look at that. Can't jump you 50%. What business would, unless you took on a new role? So GoSendMe Global as a corporation is a business. Just because we're a nonprofit doesn't mean we're above anything else that's legal in any other business as far as payroll is concerned. So keep that in mind. We are subject to Department of Labor laws, rules and regulations, State of Texas rules and regulations, the United States government, IRS rules and regulations, just like any other business. So we watch that for you, but I will not tell you, I will never say, 50,000 is good. I'll look at you and go, you think 50,000 is good? I mean, I don't see anything missing. And then if you get over there and you're like, oh my gosh, we missed this budget line item, I'm not gonna say that was my fault. The distinct separation between the two is the taxability. If you're spending money to further the mission we talked about, you do not have to pay tax on that, nor does GoSendMe. If you're spending money on your food to nourish your body and electricity and a house to protect you and your family, that is personal living. And that is taxable to the government. We pay you money so you can live, and then you pay tax on that to the federal government.
If you have kids and you're traveling to your field, you may be able to reimburse the husband and wife's plane tickets, but the kids' tickets have to come out of your personal salary.
You're all going over there. You're all going to be serving is kind of the way GoSendMe looks at that. And I would challenge that with an agent.
That's right. Okay.
I would challenge that. And I would say, these two people can't go without their children. If their children don't go, they don't go. And we don't have anybody sent. So basically what you're saying, IRS agent, is that this family isn't serving in the mission field, and I would challenge you to say you're wrong. They moved the whole family. So they don't say there's 5 people with 3 children, so we're only gonna pay 2/5 of the moving expense. They pay all of it. If you do come home, okay, you're on the field and you come home, and I pay for your flight to come home, GoSendMe pays for your flight to come home, and you're here, and your intent is to visit donors and to increase your donor base and do whatever, just make connections, talk to your home church, all of that. And you're gonna go to Florida and you're gonna go to Disney World. I'm not reimbursing your Disney World tickets. That's taxable to you, that comes out of your living budget, okay? That's some of that entertainment I was talking about. But we'll pay for your ticket here and your ticket back, but I will not pay for anything that goes on the week you're at Disney World. So that's how you can separate that. If you're in a hotel, you're near your church and you're seeing people and you're visiting and you're having dinner, that's reimbursable. Principally the living budget and the ministry budget. There may be items that can go in both. And when I say that, say for example, you get in country, and we actually had this happen. We had some refugees flee the Ukraine and live with one of our missionary families. So he incurred incremental cost to have those people with him. That is not living. That did not have to come out of his living budget to cover that. That would be considered ministry, okay? Even part of his house, if his electric bill went up, we could justify that as a mission type reimbursement. So understand, we still have to have the documentation, we still have to have the support for it, but stretch that ministry budget as much as you possibly can, because you will not owe Social Security taxes on any of that, and potentially even federal income taxes, depending on how your CPA prepares your return.
Number one, you have to make sure that your mission account has enough for reimbursements. Sometimes you need money ahead of time. You don't have the funds to spend the money without us helping, without getting an advance or a cash advance. The rules for what is allowable for a cash advance versus a reimbursement are the exact same. You're just estimating under a cash advance. So an example, you're launching. You know you're going to have to pay the landlord the minute you get there. You know you're going to need cash on your person to pay for certain things when you get there. So you've estimated that you're going to need $5,000 from us in cash, and you've taken into account the conversion factor of what that's going to convert to when you get in country. All right? So we write you a check for $5,000. Sometimes that has to be in cash. So we write you the check, you go to the bank, you cash it, and you get your cash. However you do that. But you get $5,000. You don't turn in a single receipt at the time you request this, but we know what it's for. We have a general idea of what it's going to be used for. So this isn't a carte blanche, hey, I need $5,000. You're going to get some questions if you don't offer me the detail. So once you spend the money, say you spend $4,500 of this, and you still have $500 left. The way we set this up in our books, this is not expensed on GoSendMe's books until you provide the reimbursement request form with all of the receipts attached that equal $4,500. Then it's expensed, because now I know exactly how to disperse it. But we keep this in an account for you so that we know you still have $500 out there that you've not accounted for. We'll remind you very sweetly the first time. We'll remind you the second time. By the third time, we've become that annoying little department that just wants paperwork. And if you do not get me money or receipts for this by the end of the year, this will be added to your W-2. It will become taxable income to you because it has not been properly accounted for. Does that make sense? Okay. That is a cash advance. Works very similar to a reimbursement, but you have to have the money up front. There's no way you can operate without getting it first. You can provide me $4,500, and then you can come back and you can provide me the rest of it later to get you back down to zero, so you don't have to worry about any of that hitting your W-2. A reimbursement, you spend the money first, and then you send us the request for reimbursement, and we release those funds to you. So what kind of expenses can go here, which can eventually go here? What's the number one question you have to ask before you submit a reimbursement? Does it fit in the mission of GoSendMe Global? If it fits in the mission of GoSendMe Global, we can reimburse it all day long. That's the main question. So what constitutes a receipt? How many times does a street vendor give you a receipt? I would just write it down in my book. This is where I was. This is the date. This is what I purchased. This is the name of the vendor I purchased from as best as I can get from what they have set up. And this is what I bought for that amount. Who, what, where, when, and why is pretty much what you have to document. Anything to document the 5. Who, what, where, when, and why. And that will keep us 100% legal with the IRS in those events where you cannot get a receipt. There's also this thing out there called per diem. So if you're in country and you're going to go someplace else for 2 or 3 days and you need funds for that, then we look up the per diem rate to where you're going, and you can get per diem for either meals or meals and hotel, and you don't have to provide a receipt for anything that's paid on a per diem. So for example, when Rob comes to see you, we look up the rate, we look up what it takes in theory to eat and sleep in that country, and we give him a per diem to go there. When you have your personal vehicle and you're traveling from place to place, if you're having to travel to go visit other missionaries in the country, then you would want to get something like Mile IQ, and it tracks everywhere you go. And you literally swipe to the right if it's business and to the left if it's personal, and at the end of the year it kicks out a report, or at the end of the month. And you can attach that to your reimbursement request and we'll reimburse you at the standard mileage rate. What's the worst thing that could happen if we don't have all of our receipts documented? It's deemed taxable income and we pay the tax on it. That's the worst thing. If they think that we're committing fraud and it's very abusive and flagrant, we could lose our 501c3 status.
So we have living budget, we have ministry budget. Then you have a reserve budget, and that is for your protection and the protection of this organization. When you receive a contribution in the name of your mission, 10% of that will be held back in a reserve account for you. Now, the way I kind of see this going, like we were talking about before, you're rocking along, the unexpected happens, we dip into your reserve, and nobody is above having their reserve dipped into. Your executive director's had his reserve dipped into. Yes, he has a reserve, just like you. Everybody has a reserve. When you decide to come off the field and your contributions start going down, that reserve budget is there to bring you home. If there is an emergency and you have to come home on an unplanned trip, that reserve is there to bring you home. You have a contributor that's contributing $1,000 a month, they pass away. Normally they don't stop giving, they actually pass away is what I'm experiencing more than they just stop giving. And now you don't have that $1,000 a month. Your reserve is there to supplement that until you can raise that $1,000. And that's maybe more difficult than what you think, because now you may have to find 5 people to replace that one. Launch fund gets you there. Launch fund gets you set up. When you're looking at this budget and you're looking to leave, those of you that have already left and you know what you're doing, that's one thing. But if you haven't left yet and you've never done this, remember, you have measuring cups and you have spoons and you have forks and you have plates and you have pots and you have pans and you have toilet paper and you have paper towels all where you are right now. When you go, you have to refurbish an entire house. That has to be built into that launch fund. You have to think about those things. That's why the launch fund is separate. You may have to prepay a month's rent wherever you're going. Build that into your launch fund, which this should tell you you're going to have to know a lot about where you're going. So I want to talk a little bit about what you need to do ahead of time in order to understand when you've raised enough money to be able to draw money from GoSendMe Global.
Good.
Obviously, we cannot just start paying you because almost every dollar we have in GoSendMe is earmarked for some mission. And there is a missionary behind that mission that is going to need that earmarked money to do what they need to do because they were called and now they're being sent. Or they're already called and they've been sent and now they're spending it. So this is an example. We have Aunt Harriet has passed away and her estate left $6,000 to this particular mission. The mission requires a living budget of $30,000, which is $2,500 a month. First rattle out of the box. I've got enough money to start drawing a salary. No, you don't. I will not allow you to start drawing on this. Aunt Harriet died. You're never going to get that again. If I take that and I divide that by 12, and that's being kind of generous, that's $500 a month. You're not there. I will take this $6,000 and I will give it to you over a month, but I will caution you with everything I've got in me that it's going to be very difficult to raise the $6,000 next January. And I would really rather not count this toward anything you've raised so far. If you're launching, I would recommend you put this in your launch budget. If your reserve's not met yet, I would recommend you put this in your reserve and we say that's set.
Absolutely right.
I would not recommend that you take this and you spread it and you say, this is gonna get me paid faster. Let's flip that, forget that scenario. Let's go to, this is Uncle Jim. And Uncle Jim likes to give once a year, and he gives in January because that's when he gets his bonus from his job. And Uncle Jim has given to me and my other organization every year for the past 10 years, here's proof. I feel a whole lot more comfortable about applying $500 a month to each one of these under that scenario. I even feel more comfortable if Uncle Jim's alive and he says, I'll give you $6,000 every year. However, I will highly caution you because that is a lot of money to have to raise. That's a lot of donors. What do you think your average donor gives?
20 to 50.
50. Divide that number by 50. That's how many people you have to reach. And then double or triple that number because not everybody you talk to is going to give. That's a lot of people you guys have to talk to and do your mission and take care of your family. You'll say that you convince me, I take it to Rob, and we're convinced that this is going to be a good deal. And we can go ahead and we can take this 500 every month. So now what I have coming in for you, and you've been with us a while, this is what you have coming in on average, okay? January you brought in 500, February 1,500, March 1,000, and so on. When we determine your 80%, and you have to get it 80% to me of this $2,500 number. I don't want to look at 80% of 30,000. To me, that's too big. I want to break it down. I want to say I need to raise 80% of 2,500. When I raise that 80%, I can start drawing out some money. I can start receiving money from GoSendMe. It can be dispersed. As you're looking at these numbers, can I disperse anything to this person? Not a single month at 2,500 yet. And I don't see any real potential for growth. I mean, you grew here and then, I don't know what happened. You may have got a one-time 500 here, or maybe a two-time 250, I don't know. We have that detail, I could get that answer. But I'm not seeing anything super consistent here to be able to say, yes, you can begin drawing the salary. Now you're 6 months down the road, we're gonna have a conversation. Why isn't this number bigger? Why aren't you able to get closer to that number a little bit faster? We don't want you to hang in this limbo for years. So we put parameters out there that after so many days, if you're not this far, then he's gonna talk to you. If this were to go up, say by $2,000 a month, and you were able to raise it, you know, it doesn't take a rocket science, what did I say, 2,000 a month? You know, you've got a pretty good pattern to hit your 2,500. And I would then consider releasing funds. So it isn't the fact that you have to raise so much, 80% of the 30,000 before we start distributing. We need to see a pattern. We need to see a consistency. Now here's something else I will point out. This looks pretty consistent, right? But what if this is from person A, B, and C, and this is from person B, D, and E, and this is from person B, F, and G? Am I going to have a problem? Even though the money's there, I don't see a consistent giver. So I have a problem. So I cannot disperse funds to you until I see consistent giving from A, B, and C all the way down the road. And we're using our experience that we've gained personally over the years to come up with all of this. And this is part of all of it. We can't let you go before you're ready financially. You can be ready spiritually, you can be ready mentally, you can be ready, you can have your bags packed. And if I don't see that your launch fund is where it needs to be on what we agreed on before you packed your bags, I'm not gonna let you go.
Nice thing about you not releasing that salary is that money is going into your launch fund or your reserve fund. It's not like it's disappearing. You're still getting credit for it. It's just which bucket it's going into.
Exactly. And the launch fund bucket, you're there, you've been there 6 months, you've got money left in your launch fund, I can move it.
That's awesome.
I can move it to your reserve if it's not met, until it's met. If it's met, we can move it into your ministry budget, maybe give you a little bit of a bump up in your in your living budget if you need it, or we can move it into your ministry budget. We have other missionaries that have said, okay, I want to start a new mission within what we're doing here. I want to separate our funds and I want to put it in this bucket. And this is what I want you to do with my leftover launch funds. And that's exactly what we did. But he has to tell us when he wants to spend money out of that bucket, because I don't know. Blake and I have no way of knowing unless you fill out the report and you tell us what budget you want that to come out of. We assume when you're moving over there, most of it's coming out of your launch fund. But when you're there for 3 months, we talk about, well, what budget do you want this to come out of? GoSendMe Global is assetless. We do not own any assets. We do not want to own any assets. We have missionaries in Guatemala, they own cars. They are their cars.
Oh.
We distributed the money to them to purchase the car out of their ministry funds, but it is their car. It is titled in their name. We do not want to own any land. We do not want to own houses. We do not want to own cars. We do not want to own computers. So when you are needing to purchase something, start talking to me as soon as that realization is there so we can make that happen in the way that is best for you and for GoSendMe.
And we don't mind you being creative for certain things. Where you have to have a separate fundraising thing outside the organization for certain things like that. We're not going to tell you that you can't do that. In fact, if it comes down to a question of will it become GSM's asset if you raise it through us, instead of just being yours, we're going to tell you, get creative and get clever and find a way to raise those funds outside of us so that we don't have to have that conversation. So,
and when he says raise those funds outside of us, that means the check's payable to you.
right.
Okay? I highly discourage running things outside of GoSendMe, but I know it happens. Aunt Irene is going to only write you a check. She is not going to write GoSendMe Global, some man named Rob Casey that she's never met before in her life, and this lady Lori Cannon. I don't know her. I'm not writing them a check. I'm not supporting them, and I'm not deducting this on my tax return. I don't care. This is your money. Merry birthday. Whatever. I know that's going to happen. Try to run as much through GoSendMe as you possibly can. It benefits you. There's so many things that go into getting you over there, and to talk to everybody broadly about it is very difficult. That's why before you leave, there's scheduled conversations with me. When you get there, there's scheduled conversations. So now, what I'm about to say is the most important part, and it is the most difficult part when it comes to separating world and kingdom, God. GoSendMe Global's mission is to take every dollar, every dime, every penny that is given to your mission and to spend it on that mission. Notice I did not use the word you. I need you to repeat after me. The money donated to GoSendMe for my mission is not my money.
Is not my money.
The money donated to my mission is not my money.
It's not my money.
I know in your brain you're going, I know it's not my money, it's God's money. And that's all good and fine while we're sitting here today in this wonderful euphoric state we are in. But that state changes and the world does kick in with missionaries when you're either forced to leave the field or voluntarily leave the field, or you just flat need money. Understand, GoSendMe Global cannot just write you a check. You are W-2 employees. You will have regular draws, but you can't just call me and say, Lori, something broke, I need $5,000. Now don't think I'm not gonna break my neck to try to get you that $5,000. If you have the money in your mission account to give you that $5,000, we will talk about how we can make that happen. But it will take a few minutes. So don't call me at 1 o'clock and expect to have that money in your account on the next morning, because we have to plan for these things. You will have an emergency fund. That is most likely where that money will come from if it's built up, and we will figure out a way to get you the money, but it will probably have to come to you in W-2 wages, just depending on the situation. But that is most of what I've seen. We are not a pass-through.
Sure.
We are not. I refuse to be. And anytime I think we are, Rob can ask you, I'm all over his case. Is this a pass-through? And tell me now how it's not. Because the burden of proof will be on me with the IRS. We have to account for your salary. Everybody has to have a reasonable salary. So for example, we've got, say we have in Africa, we come up and we have 15 missionaries that we're serving. We can't have this missionary over here making $1 million a year because he has a trust supporting him, and this one making $20,000. The IRS would look at that pay and say, what justifies this gentleman making $1 million? At some point, I hope this happens, at some point, we may have to say, I'm sorry, we can't accept your contribution of $1 million. You're going to have to set something else up to where our missionary only gets $30,000 a year for however long they live. And if you want to, maybe their children could get it, but it's outside GoSendMe. Or you just give GoSendMe what we can afford to give that individual. So GoSendMe cannot take that money and spend it on one individual. If that's what a document says we have to do, we would have to refuse it, because we couldn't have that kind of pay disparity. So we're just gonna we'll just use Leo, okay? So Leo brings in $10,000. And Leo calls me and he's gone through everything, and he's a missionary, and he said, Lori, my living budget is $50,000 a year. Okay, but I need this $10,000 now. Well, I've already taken his living budget and I've divided it by 12, and that's what he's getting twice a month. Okay, so by the end of the year, he's going to be getting his $50,000. But I need this $10,000. It came in yesterday. I saw it come in, and I need it, and I need it for this, and it's for my ministry. Leo, I can't just write you a check for $10,000 without a whole lot of documentation as to why you need this $10,000. Why? Because I've set your salary at $50,000. And think about it in any other business. In any other business, would you be able to walk into the office of your boss and say, I want a $10,000 bonus right now? You're so funny, see you later. That's the reply you would get, right? We're no different. We have to follow the same Department of Labor laws and regulations. This $10,000 bonus has to be justified. Now, if it's in December and Leo's done a great job all year long, and we think that $10,000 would be good to justify, or Leo's just moved into the field, things are a little bit different, cost of living there's more than what we thought it was, let's go ahead and give him this $10,000, but it's documented. We know why we're giving him this money. We cannot tie the donation dollar to your salary. That's why when you bring in 10 grand, I can't write you a check for 10 grand. Can't do it. You have to provide me documentation, or we have to come up with some way to justify it. It has to be justified, it has to be documented. I said earlier, and you repeated after me, that the money raised through this organization is not yours. If you leave this organization and there's money in your coffer, I cannot give it back to you. We allow in all of our documentations every way possible for you to spend that money and for you to get that money back. But by law, I cannot give you that money. Our intent is not for your mission to have any money in it when you leave. But sometimes things happen and there's money there. The money we give to them is not your money. They do not have to give you that money. We step out on a huge letter of faith there to give them that money for your new mission. They do not have to give it to you. Not a single nonprofit in the United States has to give you that money.
So I'm going to be probably the person you'll interface with the most in accounting, unless you have, like she mentioned, kind of the bigger picture questions, and we'll get more involved. But I guess my goal today is kind of just to kind of give you a general overview. Everybody has their own what we call giving pages. It's a page unique to you. It's got information about you, where you're serving, that you can give out to your family, friends, post on social media, wherever it is that you're going to be kind of letting people know how they can give to your mission. On that giving page will be kind of an embedded form that allows people to give online using debit card, credit card, PayPal, stuff like that. So you just give them that giving page, they'll go on there and they'll give to you, and you can get funds that way. Another way, as I mentioned before, you can also just have them write a check. The best way to do that, again, speaking kind of from an IRS standpoint, is to write the check to GoSendMe Global. Don't put your personal name on it. So if they're writing a check, and then just put like a note in the envelope with the check, this is for so-and-so's mission, whatever. That way we can know how it needs to be allocated, but we can't accept a check that's written to you personally. Okay, so just make sure that your donors know that. Your best tool, honestly, is just when you get your login, when you start receiving funds and we get that login to you, just go ahead and play. You're not going to break anything. So just go in, just kind of click around, see what's in there, see, all the kind of information you have access to. It really is a very helpful tool if you use it.
The goal is to set you up to succeed every way we possibly can.
I am the queen of no, but I love each and every one of you. Like, you will never know or understand how much I can love somebody I barely know, but I do. Because I know what God is going to do in your lives. And I'm very humbled to be able to serve you in the way that I do, no matter how boring it is.